Hello, spiritual Barbies and spiritual Kens. Welcome back to another episode of the Spiritual Sisters Podcast. This is Gabrielle Celeste. Welcome, welcome. We have a returning guest, friend of the pod. Kristen Comer is here, and she was actually one of our first guests to have on the show back in the day. So be sure to check out episode 16 from a couple years back. But Kristen, we are so excited to have you back on the show, and I really appreciate being able to have that connection going for years now at this point. So welcome to the show. How are you doing, my dear?
Yay. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I don't know, the first time I came on your podcast, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they asked me and I got to be here. And now coming back, it's just exciting. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like so much life has happened for the both of us, but especially with you in the last 2 years, especially from a health perspective. And we don't have to get into the details, but I've seen you navigate some really trying challenges and chapters. And I'm really excited to speak to how you and your services and your unique skill set actually support people in your line of work. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and ask you a series of questions, which I don't think we got to in that episode that we recorded together because we weren't asking these questions at that time. And yeah it's kind of I don't know, what do they call it? Rapid fire, a rapid fire experience. So, what are your big three in astrology?
So I'm a Gemini sun, Pisces rising, and a Taurus moon. So I have
my goodness,
one of all of them.
Yeah. That Pisces rising, Taurus moon, I really vibe with. Not that I have anything against Geminis, because I certainly don't. But
well, some days I do. Depends on which one of me you're asking. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I thought you meant towards other Geminis. That's funny.
No, just myself. No, I'm just kidding.
I've had a lot of Geminis in my orbit this week. It's really interesting. So yeah, Geminis. I think one of the most intelligent signs of the zodiac for sure. Okay, what's your human design makeup?
So I'm a manifesting generator. I'm a 6'2". Yeah.
Okay, Manny-Gen 6'2". So you're meant to be a teacher basically and teach from your own experiences. Okay.
Which is funny because when you think of the 6'2", there's that phase of going observing and taking it all in, being on the roof is what they call it, and then you come out to teach. And then I also have the 2, which is the hermit, and I feel like sometimes I really hermit and then I come back out. So yeah, I
feel like my 4, because I'm a 4/6, my 4 hermits, even though there's no hermit in there, but maybe that's the Cancer in me. I'm not sure.
It's a mixture of it all, right?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so what podcasts, audiobooks, what are you binging right now? What are you listening to?
To be honest, nothing. I have been so busy with moving and everything that it was just, I haven't really even had time to think, let alone sit down and listen to anything. So I need to get back into it, but.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I feel like moving is such a transition and it takes so much out of you, and it's a thing. So I hear you.
Yeah, I'm I don't even have time.
Yeah, I feel that for sure. Okay, if you had the chance to work in the structures of your business with any client, either living or on the other side, who would it be and why?
It's hard. There's a lot, but for some reason, I just feel like I want to learn from aspect, I don't know. I really like Louise Hay, Dolores Cannon, but then living, I feel like Taylor Swift, just because she's very brilliant business wise, and I don't know. I think it would be really cool to see how her energy works and things like that.
Totally. I feel like she's actually, so just to point that out, she is the most common answer for that question on our show. And I appreciate the mastery between being both the businesswoman and the artist / talent that she is, and doing both at the same time. So I definitely can see why she's such a popular answer for sure. Yeah. And final question, and it might be the same, but For a concert, if you could attend a concert for an artist, either living or past, who would it be and why?
Honestly, Selena. I
Ah!
love.
Ah! I knew
I would love.
it.
I mean, honestly, like I just feel like the energy, the everything about one of her concerts would just be like top notch for me.
Yeah, I agree. Selena Quintanilla. I feel like we've had an answer. I think she's been an answer to that question once before, but
Oh, really?
she's gone before too soon. She left us too
Way too
soon.
soon. Yeah, she was
And
way talented, but
would we have a J Lo if we didn't have a Selena?
right.
I think about that all the time. It's the same thing. Would we have a Beyonce if Aaliyah hadn't left us? So
Yeah.
I think about that often. So I love the answers. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for playing the
Yeah.
game.
Thank you.
So, since we last recorded together, a lot has happened, and you have also provided a new service within your business, and they are called the Tree of Life readings. And
Yeah.
I've had a couple of girlfriends who have purchased and experienced this specific service of yours. And I would love if you could speak more to what that specifically entails. And if you feel comfortable sharing, of course, maybe how your personal tree of life has played out in the last 2 years since we've recorded together, because you've had such a journey in that period of
Yeah.
time, and I'm very curious as to the interplay between the two.
All right. So before all that, like I'm a medical intuitive, so my main thing is, I can see like physical and emotional imbalances, illness, disease, how they correlate, where they come from, like where it's trapped in the body, and get answers as to how to like help heal that on a physical and emotional level, because once you can get answers to the physical and the emotional, that's where true healing can happen, because there's always an emotional aspect to every physical ailment. And a lot of times, if the emotional thing isn't taken care of, it manifests into physical a lot of times. So that comes from childhood and stuff like that. So I had been doing that for a long time, which is they're amazing, and it's very in depth and can get people a lot of answers in healing. But I realized that I was not taking all my own advice and doing all the things,
Mhm.
helping myself, you know what I mean? So I had been doing a lot of emotional healing and like working on my spirituality and all these kind of things. And I was working on my physical body, but I really wasn't to the depth that I needed to. And I feel like in order for me to really get to the next level, it was like I was kind of stuck in like the people pleasing and doing everything for everybody, never taking time for myself. It was always just everybody else was more important than me. And I started to realize I was doing that within being a mom, within my business, within everything. And I really got knocked on my ass. And I was taken out. I was in the hospital. I had emergency surgery. I was in ICU. I spent most of 2023 in and out of the hospital in bed on IV therapy, being pretty much just laid out and having to have everybody help me and take care of me, down to the nurses, to doctors, to my husband, my family. And then I started to realize, like, that was where I realized, like, holy cow, like all this time I've just been bypassing my own well-being to make everybody else happy. And I really had to be knocked down to kind of be forced to realize I was important and that I mattered, and that I like deserved to be taken care of. And
Mhm.
I didn't have to be, like so independent and do everything on my own. Like it was okay to have help. And I don't know. It's a big thing, but it also just helped me help other people to be able to see that, like, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to let other people assist you. It's okay to not be okay sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like I'm thinking of at least 3 listeners on the show that are going to really resonate and feel exactly what you just said. Do you feel like there's a layer of, maybe at least before, when you went through that, and now maybe where you're at on the other side of it, a challenge with possibly receiving and also balancing the role of being a mother as well. Because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like receiving and mothers and women in general, I don't think we get enough credit for the different personalities, identities, shifts that we have to go through and are forced to go through throughout the course of life that I don't really feel like men maybe experience as deeply.
No, I agree. Yeah. I feel, and it's also crazy because I'm coming into another chapter of life where my kids are getting older. Like I have adult children now, and so it's like things are changing in that aspect too. Like they're moving on and they don't need me as much, and it's like, but they need me in a different way. And so it's like I'm really having to navigate like where I show up, what I do, where I insert myself, where I don't, and so that's shifting. But yeah, as far as like women, I and receiving, like I just feel like honestly we're not really taught or allowed. It's more like just put on the brave face, do the things because that's what you're supposed to do, show up every day, like, just put on all these faces and play all these roles and like put yourself in on the back burner. And like I'm realizing and trying to teach my daughters the same thing. It's like, no, like you deserve to be respected. You deserve to be, receive. You deserve to have all the good in life, and it's not at the expense of yourself or your like what how you truly feel deep down inside, like setting boundaries, like speaking up for yourself, um, all that. Like I just feel, and also I've noticed too, it's crazy, but so many of my clients have like throat chakra imbalances and thyroid issues, and I feel like it's because we're taught to dim ourselves. We're taught to not speak up for ourselves. It's just kind of like the way society, it's like, just be quiet, do what you're supposed to do, and don't be too much. Don't, but no.
Yeah.
Like,
I it's so interesting because it's kind of the layer, and I guess this is a selfish ask, but that's definitely the layer that I'm at right now with respect to my inner child and that healing and the lower three energy centers, the root, the sacral, and the solar are, in my opinion, the most challenging to work with, and I believe
mm,
that that is probably why so many people are disconnected within themselves and maybe not as
mm-hmm,
conscious as they could be. And if you could just go into the whole deservability portion of that, I would really appreciate it. Only because, and I'll be very honest with our listeners if they don't already know this about me, but I've uncovered, especially working with my shaman and going to therapy weekly, and doing the inner work, that my one of my core wounds is deservingness, and I have a very clear understanding of where it came from, but there's a
mm-hmm.
disconnect there in the sense of like actually feeling deserving and understanding that. So if you could share maybe your experience, I feel like there would be really helpful takeaways from that concept.
Yeah, it's interesting too because I've also noticed in a lot of clients and stuff that the solar plexus, the sacral, and the throat. Mostly the sacral and the throat, which is very interesting because if you look at them on a physical aspect, they look alike. Like
Hmm.
our vocal cords and our women anatomy, they're similar in the way they vibrate and the way they take in things, and it's just very interesting. But there's usually like I've noticed a lot of times when I do readings disconnect. So it's like the throat and the sacral aren't connected, and I think a lot of times it's like kind of, this has also been an experience. There's so much to this that I've uncovered and learned, but it's like when girls start to go through like puberty and stuff like that, we kind of start to disconnect from our bodies because we start changing our we go through so many physical changes, and we start becoming aware of our body, and we have menstruation, and our like everything starts to change physically. So we start to kind of disconnect from our bodies because it's uncomfortable, and we're not and so many people aren't really taught about sexuality, and you know like we're not taught that it's okay to feel sensation and to have pleasure and experience, and it's like almost like that's a bad thing, and you shouldn't feel and you shouldn't experience those things because it's like um being negative or bad. And so it's like we start to disconnect from our bodies when we start seeing changes in that aspect. And then also I do feel like through those years we're also going through this time of like finding out who we are, and like going that adolescence is hard, like middle school age, where we're learning who we are. We're like, we start to realize that society is out there and we're being judged or we're being thought about in a certain way. And I feel like that's where a lot of that starts to come from, in my opinion. But also childhood years, that inner child that's shut down for being too loud or too much, and that I feel like a lot comes from just our parents not really, um, I feel like so many of us are cycle breakers and we come into this world, and our parents haven't healed their traumas and they haven't dealt with their things. And so they're projecting their experience in their life and their things onto us without intentionally wanting to hurt us. It's just, their experiences. And then it becomes our voice. Totally. And we start to take on everybody else's things. Sorry, I could go on for hours about this. We should probably, but I feel like that's where we kind of start to disconnect from what I'm talking about is pleasure, receiving pleasure, receiving, monetary things, just because a lot of times too, if our parents weren't well off or they didn't, it's like, they tell us, oh, we can't afford that, or we can't this, and we start to feel like, oh, like I'm not good enough to have that, or I shouldn't ask for what I need because it's going to be met with rejection, or so there's so much to it, honestly. I feel like then that comes the part where we get to go back and uncover and get rid of all those stories, and realize that that's not our truth and that we are deserving. And so I feel like
I agree. I feel like, and I want to pivot to the Tree of Life readings after this.
Oh, but sorry.
No. What I actually wanted to speak to your experience and what you just said, because with my reading with you, this was now 2 years ago at this point, a little over 2 years ago. And that was before, oh my gosh, now I think about it, I'm like, fuck, Gabby. You've been working on inner child wounding for 2 years. But again, this is like my core wound. So it makes sense. It's on brand, right? But all this to say, you're going to get what you need regardless from a session with you. I really believe that, especially because you have a really beautiful way of marrying your intuitive skill set and your medical background. But I'm just like, damn, like whatever happens to you in your subconscious between the years, I mean, in vitro up until 7, and just like how you experience life in those inner years. I'm like, it really is real stuff that like you have to unpack and almost decondition, honestly, as an adult. And I would love for you to speak to how that is actually evident in the Tree of Life readings, because I've had a couple girlfriends share that was exactly their main takeaway. I mean, different areas to heal, but that was their takeaway with their time with you in that specific session.
Okay. Yeah. So my Tree of Life readings, I just kind of do like a quick snapshot of their energy, and it just kind of goes into each little aspect of life, like their intuition, the higher self, that connection, finances, relationships, their inner strength and motivation. So I just kind of view, and there's other aspects too, like I just touch on all of it, but it's just kind of like a really quick brief snapshot, but it just kind of and then I get higher self recommendations as to how they can work on shifting those things or where that might have came from. And it's just kind of like in the moment at that time where they're at. And it's just really interesting because every reading I do, no matter whether it's a medical intuition reading, a biofield balance reading, a soul path reading, a Tree of Life reading, it always seems to go back to, which I love because it's finding the core, finding where that wound originated from. Because I feel like when you can find the core, the root, that's where you can start to unpack and transform things, because it's like getting to the nitty gritty, So totally. Even though they're like quick and like simple compared to my like medical readings, which are very in depth and like, I mean, we get like really deep in those. It still gives so much information. And then like if there's a certain aspect or area that they like want to dive deeper into, we could do like a more in-depth reading. But that's just kind of, it was more just like a fun, quick snapshot way for me to get them answers. And I have people that do them once a month just to see like, hey, what's happening this month, and
Oh,
so,
I love
yeah.
that. I know I was feeling like I'm overdue for one. So yeah, be sure to check her out. We're not done with the episode, but be sure to check out where to find her and all the things in the show notes because you're actually one of the very few readers that I would trust with my energy. And
Oh,
that's actually for me just now being in the game for as long as I've been in it and just knowing the level of shadow work that I've done and seeing you go through your journey and knowing where you're at with your shadow work and all the things, it takes a certain caliber of reader to be able to meet you where you're at.
no,
And
yeah.
you're one of the few that I would trust with that. So thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That means so much to me. And I fully receive that because I believe exactly what you're saying. And that's good because you should protect your energy and only work with those that you feel comfortable with. So hearing you say that means a lot to me. So thank you.
Totally. And I don't know if you can, I've said this in another episode that's going to drop after this episode drops. And it was pretty raw, but I feel like just going through, and there was this meme that I read too. It was kind of like you have a ton of problems, but then once you have like a health problem, you only have one problem.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just kind of like, especially doing this work, it's almost like you have a different standard of healing that you expect healers to kind of uphold for themselves, especially if they're holding space for other people. And I would
Mm-hmm.
love to know your thoughts on that because I certainly feel like after this last year of like honestly darkness, I've
Mm-hmm.
definitely kind of come to that conclusion for myself.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like being a medical intuitive and dealing with such a sensitive subject because our health is like our biggest asset. You know what I mean? If you're not healthy, like if you don't have your health, you don't have because it's so important. And I feel like touching on that is very important. And I hold myself to a standard of making sure that like I have integrity. I don't breach karma. Like
Mhm.
I want to make sure like what I'm delivering, I don't diagnose. I don't, none of that. I get answers and that's for them to take and do with what they feel right. But, and I feel like that's also another reason why people have a hesitancy working with me because health is a very like touchy subject. Um, because so I feel like I got off the subject of what you even asked me, but can you tell me what you want
Yeah,
me to
with
answer?
yeah,
Sorry.
so do you feel like having gone through this, like, I guess, recent ego death, for lack of a better words, with respect to your health challenges has almost, like, incurred for you and I feel like you did partially answer this already, but it's almost, like, caused you to have a different standard, for just, like, healers in this space and even for yourself having gone through your recent health challenges?
Yeah. So, to be honest, yeah, like I've dealt with health challenges since I was younger. I went through cancer. I was diagnosed with a chronic illness or like a chronic illness in 2016, like life altering. And then this last one was like even more, yeah, it was crazy. But I feel like it needed to happen. You know what I mean? It
Mm,
needed to happen for me to have I think the empathy for myself almost. It was
yeah.
like because I had empathy for so many other people, but it was like I never had that for myself, and so it was almost like I needed to finally. I don't even know the words to describe it other than the fact like realizing just how valuable life is and
Mm,
how much I took for granted. I think, and just how I thought I was doing the work until I realized I really fully wasn't. And it was like, that was when I was like, okay, like I have been going through the motions and doing all the things, but I also had all these excuses and all these like not fully devoting myself into like my physical body. And I feel like that happens a lot, especially in our culture, in our society. And it's like, um, fully shifting how I eat and what I do and everything. Like it was like, but if I do that, then I'm depriving myself of this. But it was like I had to change my mindset around like food and all of the things. Like so, I feel like that's a big thing when I think about our culture and the way we're like kind of designed, like the food industry. all the things that we're fed.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I could go on for that. I'm
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that was actually one of the key points that I wanted to speak to as well is how your environment can affect your health because I feel like we're touching on a lot of specific root chakra themes. So, which
mhm.
is really it covers root chakra for context. For our listeners, it's it's your inner child, it's relationship to money, it's relationship to having your basic needs met, it's your living environment, it's food, water, literally basic needs. And I would love to know your professional take on how your environment can influence honestly, your well being and your connection to planet Earth.
Okay, yeah. And that's very interesting that you say that because that obviously was what I went through for the last 2 years with my root because it was like diverticulitis, bowel obstruction. You know, um, so I had two major stomach surgeries and had my part of my colon removed. And so, I mean, it was like huge, like all of that. I feel like, and it's also really crazy because the day I had surgery was the first new moon of 2023. It was on 1/11. And so I don't know, there was just so many synchronicities to that whole thing, but it was like my root. And so yeah, exactly what you're talking about. Like, but I felt like it was time to get all that out of there. And so I feel like having a part of that removed actually helped remove a lot of that stuff that I had been built up in there. Anyways. Um, so I feel like your environment, so just kind of a quick backstory. I had sexual abuse as a child. Trigger warning. Sorry. I was raped as a teenager. I had an eating disorder in my early 20s where I was inpatient. Just so many things with like. I feel like I was like I had a really traumatic childhood. Alcoholic mother. My dad was a drug addict, like just a lot. My mom's healed and me and her are best friends now, but I went through a lot as a child. And um, that all kind of is in that area down there too. But it's just like the emotional, physical trauma and things that I went through as a child into my adult years, toxic relationships. I mean, just so many things. But a lot of it came back to my unworthiness. Like, you know what I mean? I was putting myself because of my early years, I continued to put myself in situations that didn't meet who I truly was or what I deserved because that's what I knew. And until I started to really heal that and find out like, and even with money, receiving and all of that, it's all of our relationship with ourselves. It's not even really the relationship with money or, the amount of money you can hold or any of that. It's the amount of love that you have for yourself. Like, I feel like the self-love and the, like, coming back to yourself, letting go of all the stories and healing that part of yourself to actually feel deserving, to feel worthy, to allow yourself to receive, that's where things start to shift because it's like until you feel that within yourself, no amount of money, no amount of like whatever, like you could have everything and anything, but it's not going to change how you feel inside. It's until you change how you feel inside, that's when everything on the outside starts to shift.
I could not agree more. That has, I think you said it perfectly. And I don't think I really would have honestly been able to embody that on a personal level. Not that this is about me. You guys can listen to the episode that's dropping in early September for that. But I don't think I would have understood that had I not gone through my own personal healing because it's so true. It's like, it's what does my shaman say? Safety is an inside job. Abundance is an inside job. It's all sense of self. And until you
Mm-hmm.
truly go through experiences that cause you to come to that awareness, I don't think you fully understand it.
I don't think so either.
Yeah,
And
but
I feel like no matter what you do, like you can, and I don't want anybody to have to get fully knocked down to be able
true.
to
Yeah,
like
of
see
course.
that, you know what I mean? So it's like starting to do the work and see the things and like just I don't know. Like I just don't ever want anybody to have to fully go through that in order to feel that way, but I mean sometimes our experiences are what they are and we have to experience things a certain way sometimes in order for things to fully shift because I was a very stubborn ass and
It's
I
that
didn't
Taurus moon.
oh
That Taurus
like
moon does not play.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And just for, so if someone were interested in purchasing a Tree of Life reading from you, would that show up in one of the branches, for example? Because it's a metaphor, right? It's like quite
Hmm.
literally like a tree and the root, and then the branches fall off, and they're, I'm assuming, different areas of life. At least that's how I picture it in my brain.
Yeah. So yeah, I do each part of the tree is like representing a different part. So like I even look at the roots, which are kind of like your finances and security and all of that. And then I also do like the earth, which is kind of like your living environment, your surroundings, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
So like I look at the fruits and the flowers, which is kind of like your creativity and how much is there and which, if there's bigger ones and which ones you should focus on and stuff like that. And then I do like the leaves. Leaves are kind of like, I look at that more of like your self care, your well being. Are they like tattered and weathered? Like I just kind of look into the well being of the leaves as far as like representing like you
Hmm.
as like your well being. And then branches are kind of like relationships. How many branches do you have? Are they like time to be pulled off? Are they
Yeah.
like strong? Like, just kind of like that sort of thing. Like the bark and the trunk and so I just created it to like each thing represents a different thing and how that's showing up for you.
It's so beautiful because I've never seen anything like that on the market, and I love that it's unique and special to you, and it just marries, like, again, your skill set so beautifully, and, yeah, I'm feeling very called to
Mm.
purchase one of those because especially just going through this, like, last season of inner child work, where I'm just like, I think it's time to tap in and see what renewed or how the energy has been transmuted, if at all, and, just renewed, I guess, and
Yeah,
shifted. So, oh, that's so cool. And I'm so grateful that also just to have you in my network because, again, I feel
thank
like
you.
you have a very niche specialty and you really do operate out of a place of integrity. And I just feel like that's really needed in this space, especially just this last, I guess, like rose colored glasses coming off experiences that I've had. So, yeah, I just wanted to
No,
say that.
I thank you, and I agree. Yeah, there's a lot out there, and I feel like the more it's being accepted and spoke about and put out, the
Hmm.
more we're also getting that like dark side of people just trying to take advantage of it and like,
Totally. Yeah.
yeah, so
And it's probably
yeah.
always been there. I think maybe it's just
Yeah.
now more apparent as this space, I suppose, has become more popular. But I also, I know I've had a couple of listeners in our community also work with you one to one. So are you still doing one to one sessions or like private coaching? Is that
Hmm.
still what you're offering? I
Yeah.
would love to have an update on your business as well.
Yeah, so I took a break for a while just because I had to. Like for a
Hmm.
year, I really just focused on me, which is what
Hmm.
I really needed to do. And now I've moved and my kids are growing up and moving on. And now I'm like coming back to like opening up all of that again. So I kind of feel like I'm kind of also in this space of wanting to rebrand everything and
Totally.
recreate everything. And I just feel like I'm on a whole new like
Yeah.
timeline now. Like it's kind of crazy, but I really did feel like I had a rebirth and I feel like a different person.
Yeah.
you
Totally.
know? And so
Yeah.
it's like I'm offering still all of my readings, like medical readings, biofield balance readings, soul path readings, and I also am doing one to one. So in my one to one sessions, like I help with anything like emotional, spiritual, physical. I'm also a health and wellness coach, but I also offer like breath work and guided meditation and hypnotherapy, and so I'm also certified in human design. So I kind of bring all of it into my sessions with my clients. I do them very intuitively and I feel like they're guided. And then because each person's so different, we then gear the one to one exactly with what they need because there's no cookie cutter approach. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like, and my thing is holistic because we're a whole human, like we're a whole being, like everything is connected, and so it's like you can't work on one without the other. As my experience shows, like you can't just work on the one and forget the rest because it doesn't work that way. It's like everything needs to be in balance in order to work good. So it's like the
Yeah.
physical, spiritual, mental, emotional.
Yeah, the universal law of balance, it's such a thing. And I mean, we're going back to a little bit of the topics that we spoke about earlier in the episode, but the concept of receiving, I just had this thought that my shaman expressed to me, and she said that people in like elderly in old people homes,
Mm.
homes where you know that that's like, I guess even hospice energy, but that's where they're really just going to live out their last few years.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason in which they're there on an energetic level is because they never knew or learned how to properly receive. And I thought that was
Oh,
so profound. And it's really like, it's really sat with me. So when you were speaking about that earlier, I was like, yeah, I mean, at some point it circles back to you, even if you are conscious or unconscious to it. So
yeah.
I just
No,
wanted to
that
say
makes
that.
total sense because I felt like that in the hospital. Like,
Hmm.
I was literally like the day I had my bowel like taken out and I just got out of ICU, I was like, oh, I'll just make my own bed. I'll just, you know what I mean? And the
Oh,
nurses are like, what are you
yeah,
doing? Like, we're here to do that. And it was just because that's how I was that I wanted to do it on my own. Like, I didn't want anybody to take care of me. And
totally.
like, so being in the hospital is the same as being in a care center. You know what I mean? You're being cared for.
100%. And also to your point about, and I don't know if this resonates for you at all, but we we shared recently, Brianna and I, who's my co-host on the show, um, my younger sister, so we all got norovirus. We
Oh yeah,
all,
I listened to that
oh,
episode.
oh my God, there was a
I'm so
point,
sorry.
girl, Kristen, I was literally like hovering the toilet in the RV because I was visiting at the time. And I was like, I am okay with dying compared to my
Yeah.
bleed out, compared to RSV, compared to COVID. I was like, I'm good. Like, just take me. I'm good,
Yeah,
right?
take me now. Like, this is next level.
But of course, like that's related to the solar plexus. And
Mm.
you had solar plexus energy going on with your bow, a little bit of like, that sacral energy going forth. And my shaman was like, well, you guys all got sick because you're moving back home. And it's a reflection of everyone in your family basically being up leveled in your state of consciousness. And
Oh,
I was like,
wow.
facts. So
Wow.
I think it's just a testament to like, even if your family isn't doing the work, and not to say that my family isn't, I think they've become a little bit more like conscious about it, watching me in my
Hmm.
process. And I know your
Yeah.
family's aware of it because of you as well. But
Hmm.
like, what a crazy experience for us to both have stomach issues that are reflections of our upgrades in consciousness. And by association, everyone around us is affected by doing that inner work, physically and
I
literally.
know. It's crazy. It's
It's fucking crazy.
crazy. It is crazy, but it's like, okay, here, let me go through this for you. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh man, I was patient zero, but like all this to say, I'm so sorry you went through that. But I always like to remind my clients too, and I feel like you and I can agree on this, and please let me know otherwise if not. But it's like it fucking sucks in the
Right?
process. It sucks. Usually it's rough, right? And it just feels,
Yeah.
at least for me, it becomes a little bit more challenging, but it's always worth it.
Hmm. That's what I was just gonna say. When you're in the deep shit, you know what I mean? You just feel like you're being buried and you're never gonna come out, and like, is this ever gonna end? And what the hell? What did I do to deserve this? And blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden you come out on the other side, and it's like, holy shit! Like, you have a whole new outlook on life, and like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes you just really have to go down into the depths and feel it
Yeah.
to heal it. That's
Ugh,
one of my biggest things. You have to feel it to heal it. You know what I mean? And sometimes like we don't allow ourselves to feel, but then when we do, and then we come out the other side, it's just, I don't know, it's just beautiful. So all I want to say is if you're in the depths of it and you're going through it, just know it really does get better. It doesn't last forever. And like, there's always something beautiful on the other side. And I feel like me and my daughter talk about this all the time because she loves the yin and yang, and she's very much like mom. Like, she reminds me a lot, like, you have to have the dark to have the light, you have to
yep.
have the silence to have the, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's that balance. And so it's like sometimes we just really have to have those shitty experiences and feel the feelings so that like the beautiful, and not only that, I feel like it just helps you appreciate it so much more.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, just to reflect back to you, I feel like because you understand and you respect the darkness and you have this background where you can support people from a health perspective, who better to support those in need if, they are in need of said services. So all this to say, please book with Kristen if you are feeling called, if this episode resonates with you. And Kristen, if you could please let our audience know where they can find you, links, all the things, I'd be so grateful.
Okay. Yeah, so my website is Soul Shine Holistic Healing. I'm on Instagram, Soul Shine Holistic Healing, and you can find anything there. I have like my links and everything on my website, my Instagram, and I also created an offer code for 25% off for all your listeners. So it's just, I think I did SSPC, so not Soul Shine, Spiritual Sisters Podcast 25. So SSPC 25.
SSPC 25. Perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Love that. And that'll be in the show notes and all the things. And thank you again for coming on. You're welcome anytime. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, I love chatting with you. And I'm just going to do a quick card pull and see how, it lands for the audience.
All right.
I'm just pulling from the OG Rider-Waite deck, the tarot card. So just trust that this message, whenever it is that you listen to this episode, is meant for you. Because it is. Time's not real. Yeah. I'm having my own little dance with that, but yeah.
I know, isn't it crazy?
I just don't even know what life has been in time. Actually, I have this theory. I'll probably speak to this in depth in another episode as I'm shuffling here. That I think intuitives, the reason in which time doesn't feel like it's 2025 and 2026, and maybe this is my double Pisces speaking, because I've recognized that I have a really interesting relationship with time. And 1995 feels like it was yesterday. And I think it's because I can, I guess, dimension hop so easily. But I think that the more intuitive that you are, or just have like create a certain connection to the divine, time is going to feel more like an illusion, and it's not going to feel like as much time has passed for someone who's maybe in like the 2D and 3D.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like that's because you, like you said, you can time hop and all that, but it's like you resonate on a different realm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You're constantly like, I don't know. So I feel like too, like being grounded and present in the moment matters, but like time is an illusion. You know what I mean? Because like, I don't know. That's a whole nother
It's story. A whole other episode.
Yeah. I'll be back and we'll talk about that another day.
Exactly. Well, all this to say, I pulled the 9 of Cups upright, the card of fulfillment, the card before endings, emotional fulfillment. That's something that I think, and this isn't predictive, but it feels important to share. And this is something that I've come to understand a little bit better, especially doing my own inner work in the last 9 months, is that really like feeling it, being human, and processing said emotions in the present is actually more important than being, I don't know, I guess maybe more important, but maybe more important than being in the other bodies, meaning the mental bodies, the physical bodies, the psychic bodies. I think the emotional body compared to like the 4 or 5 that are there. I don't know. Mm-hmm. There's something there with feeling your feelings and processing and acknowledging them, just going right through it instead of bypassing. So yeah, that's what that card means for me. It's just success, emotional success, all the things.
That's beautiful. Yeah, and I agree. Because I also feel like our emotions determine the outcomes of everything. So it's like you have an experience, the way you react to it, the emotion, all of that is kind of going to be your outcome. So
totally.
So yeah, no matter what we experience, the emotion we bring to it, it's like.
And what a gift to be aware of that too. I think above all. So yeah, but. Thank you so much.
And also, one more thing. I know this is great. Like, I don't want to keep talking because but
I feel like you and I could riff forever, to be perfectly honest. And I know, sorry. I'm going to ask after we've finished recording.
I was just going to say one more thing. That is the emotional awareness. I feel like that's the biggest key piece to healing. So that's also something I help my clients with a lot, because being riddled with anxiety and all of those kind of things, like numbing, bypassing, all the things, like you need to be in your body. You need come back to your body, feel, be able to process emotions and experiences and not let them kind of take over. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that's also comes to being present and grounded, but also like feeling and healing. And like, that's just a big piece of that. And so like helping people come back to their body and being in your body, because that's where you process your emotions too. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah, that's here.
okay.
You're giving me stuff to think about because that's kind of where I'm at in my process
Mm-hmm.
right now too, and not being so much in the mental and being in the emotional. So I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like I need to book that session.
Well, and like we were talking about earlier, the disconnection that starts to happen because you disconnect from the feelings because you're
Yeah.
taught not to feel, because it's not good to cry, it's not good to feel, it's, all those things. So we're disconnected from feeling, and our bodies are our messengers. So if we're constantly disconnected from our bodies, we're not getting the messages we need. We're just living in everything else. So
Yeah, and that's also part of programming too.
yeah. So that, like I said, that's a whole nother story, but I feel like it's important.
No, thank you for sharing that. I know that that's going to land not only for me, but our audience members too. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, friends, please go ahead and book with Kristen. We will have the show notes, the links available for you there. And until next time.
Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah. Do you
Bye.
want to? I was going to say, do you
Oh,
want to do
I
bye?
was like, I'll just do it.
Yeah, let's. Okay, we can do it together. Okay, ready?
Bye.
Bye.